we must now secure Arnhem. Enemy paratroopers control the area and have been holding off German forces for 3 days now. Elements of the 9th SS Panzer Division have already been laid to waste. If all opposing forces are not neutralized by Kampfgruppe Lehr, our enemies will cross the Rhine and into our homeland without opposition. Germany must not be brought to its knees again as it was in 1918. Destroy the occupiers.
British commandos have held the bridge at Arnhem for 3 days now, giving them clear passage across the Rhine River. 2nd Battalion is embedded throughout the city. Forward observers indicate the enemy has commandeered a number of captured heavy weapons. In addition to these pockets of resistance, the urban terrain of Arnhem is riddled with wrecks and blockades. A clear path may prove difficult to find.
Our success has become increasingly critical. Königstiger, King Tigers are in support to assist with blockade removal. Assemble them into combat groups with infantry and advance into the city. I will make additional armor support available once Kampfgruppe Lehr has secured these roads to the bridge. Without airdrops to resupply or 30th Corps reinforcement, the British paraforces are now facing grave circumstances. Capturing these 2 munitions depots will effectively cut off their supply chain and starve out the Englishmen.
Kampfgruppe Lehr, it is the time for action. Use the King Tiger to forge a path to the main roads.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Company of Heroes Operation Market Garden, where today we are repelling the British commandos who have landed in Arnhem and securing the bridge that stands between Germany and the Allied invasion. We are given access to a King Tiger, as you of course saw at the start of the game, and we are needing to push forward and capture 2 roads that lead to the bridge itself. This is one of those missions where, like a bunch of the other episodes this week, I recorded Sunday night. So the Sunday of the week just gone. It was late at night and I couldn't sleep. I was like, hey, can't sleep, so we'll just play some. We'll get some the videos for next week sorted out and all ready to go. This is one of those missions where I think if I had been a bit more organized, if I had been maybe a bit more on top of it, I could have, of course, moved a lot quicker and engaged the completed the mission a lot faster, but of course I didn't. As you can see, I am currently setting up the main base. This is of course a pretty standard thing, and I think I'll skip through a section of it once we capture this fuel point. The British do surrender quite regularly if we push forward with a certain amount of strength, or are able to push them back. Awesome, so we've just gotten a secondary objective where we need to cut off the British access to the Nebelwerfers and the ammo supplying said Nebelwerfers. A lot of this episode, a lot of this recording rather, I spent a lot of time trying to get away from the Nebelwerf strikes. Obviously, a good way of solving that would have been to push forward really aggressively and take them out. I do briefly consider avoiding using a company commander in this mission. I was just like, well, we'll see what the game gives. Maybe we'll try a vanilla. Sorry, not a vanilla. Not a vanilla game, but rather a commanderless game. As you can see there, I'm pulling my infantry out and away from the fuel point because the British are just about to start hammering it with another set of, I think, another Nebelwerfer strike. And I'm moving the King Tiger forward because the King Tiger has the ability to run through roadblocks, as you're about to see here. Or maybe not, because I don't focus on it as it happens, but there you go. The roadblocks were there, crushed by the heavy tank that is the King Tiger. As you can see, the British saw the King Tiger and were like, nope, we're not dealing with that today. So we continue pushing forward, and I briefly consider building I wanted to build another Panzer IV, simply because the Panzer IV is actually quite effective, especially when you can push it forward and put it into like I think you can lock it down and it goes into rapid fire mode, where the tank crew, the driver, and I think the radio operator, maybe, I don't know, I play water tanks and I've got the Panzer IV unlocked in that, but I can't remember for the life of me what the crew complement is. But essentially what happens is the crew will lock down the tank, and anyone who's not the gunner and the loader will move to help with loading the gun, allowing the Panzer IV to fire much faster. I'm also looking at getting the Panther battle group, which we almost had enough for there. I think just because of how little fuel we've got coming in, I needed to wait a little bit longer. And I could have pushed towards this other fuel point here, but I decided no, we're going to go around and we're going to try a flanking maneuver. We're going to come in from behind them. And so I spent a bit of time pushing my troops up along that western, along that western flank, up the side towards the river, where I can then come back around towards the ammo point, that first ammo point that the British have control of. I've also got a Kenter card, just kind of darting around, capturing points that I have cleared of British opposition. Just because using the Kenter card's quite small, it's quite effective. It is not as expensive as a squad of Panzer Grenadiers to replace. Here you can see that the British, they set up an ambush and they popped out of nowhere. I think if it hadn't been for the large group of infantry we had surrounding the King Tiger, along with the Panzer IV sitting there, the King Tiger would have been knocked out. And I think that's a pretty surefire way of losing the game. Although, as you'll notice later on, I do build a repair and recovery Tiger. I think it's a Brigadier Tiger, which you could theoretically use to recover the King Tiger and get him back into the action. But as you can see, I've got the King Tiger kind of sitting there, taking on the commando team that's currently sitting in that building. I barely avoided the Nebelwerfer strike from that. Almost. Very barely avoided that Nebelwerfer strike, and I went to see if I could figure out where the Nebelwerfer artillery was coming from. But it looks like it might be like an off-map ability, specific to the campaign alone. So with the British having set up roadblocks along the along some of the key streets of Arnhem, using the King Tiger to break through sections allows us to carve a very specific path through the city, which then means it kind of has a dual purpose. It means that we can funnel the enemy through specific routes, but it also means that if I need to get like a half track from point A to point B, I can be like, right, this is the path I need you to take, because this is the path that I have discovered is the safest and allows us to avoid the enemy. Here I advance with the King Tiger takes a bit of damage from that anti-tank gun. I was maybe a bit too careless with the advance, but I do get access to Panthers, which I deploy and I immediately send up there to help aid the King Tiger, who I have pulled back out of range of the anti-tank, which was taken out by that Panzer IV, who I have put into rapid fire mode. But I'm taking him out of rapid fire mode now, so I can pull him back out of the way of the enemy mortar. The Kintercard, I think, tried. I had accidentally selected the Kintercard. I hadn't meant to, and so he started darting away, but I think I called him back and sent him elsewhere. So here I moved the Panzer IV closer, and for a brief moment I considered, oh no, sorry, the Kintercard does come up this way, and I sent him to, well, I tried sending him to take the point, but the anti-tank gun there quickly made short work of him.
Bases under enemy fire.
Yeah, so I bring these Panzer Grenadiers up here to heal our the Panzer IV tank and the King Tiger, while the Panther tanks I send forward to hopefully outflank the enemy AT gun, the pack gun that they've got sitting kind of covering that point. As they come around, they get spotted by commandos. So they get spotted by commandos with Panzerschrecks, and we spot that the British have got boats moored along the docks, which is kind of like a side mission, which if you complete gives you a medal. It's an award mission, so it's not actually key to completing the mission itself. But I do move the Panther tanks forward to take out one of the boats. There's not actually a lot to talk about. I think I do eventually start skipping periods of time where I've just been sitting still, not doing much, or gathering my forces. I'm rushing the pack gun with Panzer Grenadiers, making use of the fact that I've got one Panzer Grenadier team who have got submachine guns, so they can move in rather quickly. Yeah. The enemy's also got access to a flank gun, so I pull my Panther tanks back, just because that flat gun, the 88mm flat gun, tears through vehicles, particularly if you're not careful. So we have just captured one of the roads that lead towards the bridge, and we've been rewarded with a couple of Panzer IVs. These are the Wehrmacht Panzer IV tanks versus rather than the Panzer Elite Panzer IV. And so they've got a longer barrel, which I think is designed for anti-tank duty, or at least wait, oh, excuse me, it at least penetrates enemy tanks a lot better than the Panzer Elite's Panzer IV gun does. The Panzer Elite's Panzer IV, of course, is better at either suppressing the enemy or taking out buildings. It can be used in an anti-vehicle role, but I think it is good to keep in mind that the gun is not quite as effective. So I do capture those two of the two sector points by the river, but I don't expand out to the two fuel points. I think I briefly consider it, but I'm like, no, I need to get a move on, and I need to secure this ammo point, because they were dropping a lot of artillery on my heads. So I pushed forward with the Tiger, and I send him into Tiger shock mode, which means that he moves forward and he suppresses the enemy. I then move the Panzer IV forward, and I drop him into rapid fire mode, and then I get the Tiger II to drop down a smoke round. The enemy unfortunately does start dropping Nebula Woofers on the munition point, but that's alright. The Tiger has got quite a bit of ammo, so it's not a true worry. Using the tanks, I also push forward to the ammo point that sits between the northern end of the map and where our base is, and we kind of use it as a staging area once we've got everything cleared up to make a move onto the road on the eastern end of the map, leading up towards the bridge. Of course, I built more Panzer Grenadiers who have got access to I think it's the MP44s that the Panzer Elite have access to. And again, I skipped through what was essentially just capturing more territory and clearing out the enemy, and I'm now making a push on the second road here, and I think we lose one of the Panthers, because we've still got both Panthers, but I do lose a couple of Panthers trying to take out the enemy flak gun that is by the docks. I figured that wasn't really an important thing to show. It was just essentially me throwing the Panthers right into him. But here we've got the Panzer Grenadiers moving ahead of the rest of the Panzer attack group itself, and they're racking up quite a fair amount of veterancy by pushing them forward quickly. I then pull them back once we've cleared out the initial defensive line, and I start healing up the tanks, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to push up into that road itself. I think that's about it. We do have to be mindful of several enemy enemy defenses along the way, particularly at that road point. They've got a couple of anti-tank guns set up to cover both sides of the road, and to ensure that both sides. So as you can see, they've got a couple of pack guns there set up. I pull the Kinderguard back, and he makes it out just in time, although he does take a fair amount of damage. But with him pulled out, I send in the Panzer Grenadiers to heal him up. And I think that's the Panzer IV shooting at the machine gun team. Of course, just knocking them out of the building. I do move the Panzer IV infantry support tank forward. That's the Panzer Elite Panzer IV, and use his heavier gun to knock him out. I do try to move the Panzer IV forward further to see if I could actually get in behind the anti-tank guns, because of course if I can get in behind them, I can try and turn their attention away from where the rest of my armor could go through. But there is a bit of wreckage there, and I do try to use the King Tiger to move in and knock it out too, but that doesn't quite work out either. But there is a gap in the buildings, which I do believe I use as well. And the British tried to take the munition point back, of course they do, because it is fairly important to them. But here you can see I've got the King Tiger, he's moving around. The anti-tank gun does turn around. So I start pulling the King Tiger out because I was like, yeah, no, there's no way I'm letting you push through that. And while the anti-tank guns turn around, I did briefly forget about the other pack gun sitting there. And because I'm distracted trying to veteran up my infantry team and get them all healed up, we do end up losing at least, I think we lose both the Panzer tanks. And I think we do lose at least one of the Panthers in the process as well. Yeah. So that Panther goes down because I thought I could get away with having him where he was. But no, he dies. I lose a fair number of tanks just trying to push through onto this road section. I think, yeah, there goes the infantry support tank. I do briefly consider pushing forward again, but I decide no, actually the better course of action is to keep him where he is. I do push him forward slightly, but I'm very careful of that wreck that's sitting there. I decide, hey, I could still technically salvage the tanks that are sitting there. So I do move the tanks around a little bit, but I'm very careful about how I do it. Again, the British are trying to take that munition point, so I send another team. And as you saw, we do have the repair and recovery Tiger. He's just come out of the, I think it's the Panzer Command. I could be wrong, but I do move him forward, and I do use him to recover a couple of the vehicles. I do try to repair one of the Panzer tanks that we received as a reward for capturing the riverside.
The Bürgertiger is in support. She is fitted with a winch capable of lifting damaged tanks for repairs. Used wisely, the Bürgertiger can recover destroyed tanks by salvaging the wreck.
Sorry, so it's actually called a Bürgertiger. Obviously, of course I was pronouncing that wrong. But I am very careful about the positioning of my tanks because, of course, I wanted to recover as many of these as possible. And I thought, hey, once the tank has been lifted up by the Bürgertiger, you could drive other tanks around the wreckage and it would be fine. That's not actually the case. I do try to push the Tiger forward, and it ends up destroying the wreck of the Panzer IV I was trying to recover, which is, of course, unfortunate. As you can see here, I am slowly moving forward, and he knocks into the wreck, destroying it, which means that we no longer have access to it, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. I do start pushing forward with the King Tiger. The British, of course, immediately surrendered because they saw the King Tiger and were like, nope, not dealing with that. And it quickly just becomes a mopping up operation, to be honest. We're going to clear out the rest of the British and capture that road point at some point. As you can see, the Brigadier Tiger is repairing the Panzer IV infantry support tank. And this is the point where I decided, hey, I'm actually going to go with the scorched earth tactics, because I wanted access to the Hummels, and the Hummels are quite a powerful. It's quite a powerful artillery unit. The Tiger's fine. As long as I keep quite a close eye on the Conan Tiger, the King Tiger, and I make sure not to let his health drop below half, I think, at any point. And of course this is, yeah. as I said before, it was just a simple matter of mopping up the enemy, moving the infantry forward, and ensuring that the British no longer have access to the resources that they had. As you can see, we just knocked a group of them out. I did try to cheekily move forward again to take out the anti-tank gun that was sitting there, but it was a no-go. I tried to see if I could move the Panzer infantry support tank into a position where maybe he'd start firing, but again, no luck. So I consider flanking around and taking him out that way. The Panzer IV tank, on the other hand, is like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go around to where the enemy anti-tank gun was last spotted. So I sent him down into rapid fire mode, where he quickly makes short work of the team that's in there. And I move my Panzer Grenadier team in to take out the anti-tank gun when I spot the machine gun team that's sitting there. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna risk that. But then after a quick look, it looks like the commandos don't actually have the machine gun. So of course it's, yeah, look at that, Panzer Grenadiers just trying to kill troops who have surrendered. Yeah, it just becomes a matter of repairing the vehicles and getting them all back to full health as we capture the final road. I probably spent a bit too much time mucking around trying to secure the surrounding territory. But with that, the final road to the bridge secured, I think we're almost at the point where we receive our next orders. Just a matter of, very much just a matter of capturing the point. And I used the Brigadier Tiger to the Brigadier Tiger. I keep changing how I'm pronouncing it. It's a German name. I'm an English speaker. Of course, I'm going to get it wrong. But I do push forward with the Panzer IV infantry assault tank.
Kampfgruppe has secured the second road into Arnhem. The road is now open for reinforcements. British come walking out.
Form up the combat groups and wait for new orders.
Altenberger, we have an incoming radio transmission from Mile around Pass.
Patch it through, Die Hard.
I've just received a report indicating elements of the 9th SS Panzer Division have fallen to the enemy in Nijmegen. The Tommies have taken the bridge. The only thing between Kampfgruppe Lehr and 30th Corps is a 20-kilometer stretch of open road on Highway 69. It is now critical to secure the paths into the city and capture that godforsaken bridge. This is our chance to break their backs. Their command and control is being orchestrated from the buildings on either side of the bridge. Secure the area and capture these points. Be swift. Time is not something we have the luxury of. Arnhem is almost ours.
Kampfgruppe Lehr, we must take the bridge. The 30th Corps has advanced beyond Nijmegen and will be arriving shortly.
Forward elements of the 30th Corps are inbound.
Don't worry, they can no longer reach Arnhem. Destroy anything that tries to cross the bridge. The remainder of the enemy forces will be pulling back to regroup in Frankfurt.
Awesome, so here we're pushing forward to secure the remaining points leading to the bridge and secure the bridge itself. This is an important step in ensuring that the Allies cannot invade Germany through I think it's Belgium or it's the Netherlands. So the Panzer IV tank, I unfortunately do lose him as the infantry support version at least. But I have access to a Hummel, and I make good use of the Hummel. Although he's not nearly as effective as I had hoped he would be. Here we've got the two Panthers dealing with the remaining boats docked along the river. I was maybe a bit aggressive when trying to take out the anti-tank gun, and unfortunately this does mean that we lose I think we lose at least one of the Panthers. But that's alright, we've got the Brigadier Tiger in place, and of course he can go and recover and repair the vehicles. I do spend quite a bit of time healing up infantry, and I'm going to make a second push towards that munition point, just because, well, really I need to take him, and if I don't take him, then... What was that shell doing? That shell just bounced off into... whatever. Shell bouncing off concrete. I play World of Tanks, I've seen a lot of stuff happen. I could believe that. Unfortunately. Pathetic little Stuart tank. You thought you could take out a King Tiger? No. No, you will not take out the King Tiger. Not today, good sir. But yeah, I do use the King Tiger kind of just sits there and he acts as like the defense against everything else. That Panther up there. With that, boat destroyed, the dock is secured. Well, not secured, but the British are no longer able to get supplies into Arnhem via that route. As you can see, I have got the oh hey, what was that? I've got no idea what happened there, but the Hummel has now is now firing on the Verling flank that they've got set up there, and I'm sending my infantry in to clear out the remaining to clear out the remaining commandos holding this particular bridge point, or this particular section of the road, and once they've been taken out, I quickly switch to rush the flak gun, because of course once the flak gun's destroyed I can move vehicles in to destroy or crush rather any opposition that might be sitting at the munitions site. Because of course it's taken me this long, the British have been able to hold that point and continue to use the Nimble Walkers that they have access to. But the flak is now destroyed, and I decided to use this time to capture the road point. And with that road point captured, I pulled the infantry back, healed them up, and I sent the Panther tanks in, because of course we've lost both of our infantry support Panthers. Sorry, not infantry support, but Panzer IV tanks. The Hummel I continue to use kind of sporadically to soften up targets or where necessary. Yeah, so yeah, so I spend quite a bit of time. I spend quite a bit of time just kind of rushing enemy units and trying to knock them out as quickly as I can. Unfortunately, the enemy does have a sniper team inside that building, so I move a couple of my infantry teams forward to toss some fire into the machine gun nests, while the Panthers make short work of the sniper inside the building. I then decide, hey, it's actually going to be a lot easier if we just rush this position. We've got the numbers on our side, and these infantry aren't new. They've actually been with us the entire game. I don't think I lose a single infantry squad throughout the course of this game. I lose a good number of vehicles, Kintercards of course, I lose a couple of those. But of course, with that point, I think I have a brief moment of, hey, what happened to the Kintercard? When I realise, hey, actually he probably got caught by the machine gun teams. But now I have all of my, I think I've got access to, I think it's 5 Panther tanks in the end in the King Tiger, or it might be 6. We just do a 5 Panther tanks. 3 of those Panther tanks, of course, were recovered wrecks, or 2 of them rather were recovered wrecks, while the 3rd was the survivor from the attack on the docks. So with them I push across and we make short work of the enemy defences on the bridge, and I use the Hummel to potentially soften up any enemy targets that might try to flank around. As you can see, the enemy's got there are some structures on either side of the bridge, and I sort of decide, hey, the Hummel's not really doing much of anything, so we'll let him just fire at those buildings and maybe he can cause some trouble for them. So the final bunker's been destroyed, so I'm going to continue pushing on and we'll clear out the remaining enemy target or any remaining opposition, and we make pretty short work of it once we push through. The enemy does have a couple of commandos up on the bridge sitting next to a flat gun, but I mean we've got the infantry coming in soon, so they'll make quick work of him as well. The Hummel, I move forward just because I'm like, hey, you don't need to be sitting back there, and I move the Brigadier Tiger forward as well. The infantry I've got rushing forward to knock out the commandos who I think are still on the bridge and to secure that final point. As you can see, they're moving forward quite quickly, and yeah, all of the infantry have been taken out, except for, of course, for that mortar. So I consider briefly sending the Panthers down to take care of them, but it's not really necessary. The point's almost captured. If y'all enjoyed this episode, consider hitting the subscribe button down below, and until next time, keep being awesome, and I'll see you around.
Out of ammo! God save the king! Haha! The bridge is ours! Wolfgang, we've done it! The bridge across the Rhine is ours!
Excellent work, Kampfgruppe Lehr. Clear the wreckage on the roadway and call up command. The bridge is open for business.
What should we do with all these prisoners?
Let's line them up and march them out.
Come on, keep it moving.
These men fought well. They should be proud. Strange. For a second, I thought I knew that one.
My brother, they are the enemy. Don't forget that.
Are you so sure about that? They look like soldiers to me.